How's everybody? I'm doing good, man. How you doing? It's Friday. Let's all just be thankful for that first of all. Whew. You've joined Office Hours. Are we good? Uh, okay. He's working on whatever it is. No sound. Yep. All right. He's working on it. I guess you can hear me. This is Office Hours, guys. We meet here every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we talk about everything we can help you guys out with in upping your creative game using all of the great applications that Adobe offers. It looks like we might have
All
Andrew
right,
back.
my
Are we
turn.
good?
Mine to start. Here we go. Here we go. Let's take two. For all of
Take
you that are watching this, this show is a hot mess. So go ahead and hit that control right if you're watching the replay, and you can jump right into the actual lesson. Control right. Just jump over there, and let's try this one more time. Hey everybody, welcome back to the most chaotic 55 minutes of your week. That's right, it's Adobe Office Hours here on Adobe Live. Whew, we made it.
We just proved it to you right there.
It's true. We thrive in chaos. So if you've never seen the show before, we're here every Friday. We've been here every Friday for over 2 years, helping you level up your skills. And Nick, we are in the final chapter. It's the final countdown. What have we been doing all year?
It's the final countdown.
Gosh.
301 level. We are starting it off with Illustrator tips. We did 100, we did 200, and now we're at the 300 level. And it's kind of like picking and choosing some of our favorites and the things that both Andrew and I either use or were totally surprised and found these are unique tips that we didn't even know about. This application, I mean, I'm sure every single one of them does, but for me, how about you? It just never ceases to surprise me.
Yes.
There's so much in Illustrator. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. And Anthony in our live chat is saying, is this the hot mess edition? Yes, this entire show is the hot mess edition of Adobe Live. But we have fun. We have a good time here. And if you want to join the hot mess and just become a part of it, if you are warm, if you are like lukewarm, if you are like in the like any kind of zone above like 20 degrees of a mess, you can join our Discord right here.
Please do.
Discord.gg/ACC. It's a place that we hang out. We have been doing a lot of stuff for educators in the last few weeks, and we have community members making assets for those educators. We also have some homework for you that we give every year if you want to practice and level up your skills. We usually give you homework each week. This week, we are going to have homework, of course, more because we're in Adobe Illustrator. And if you want to know what we're learning today, I'll just show you. These are my notes for what we're doing today. And Nick, I'm just going to show your screen real quick. This is Nick's screen. We're covering 25 things today. So if you want to learn 25 advanced features of Illustrator in 55 minutes, buckle up, buckaroo, because here we go.
Now we're starting to sound like these. We got to start changing the thumbnail, right? 25 of the most unknown tips ever.
That's it.
Let's do it.
All right. So that's enough of us talking. We've reached our limit. Please don't hate us. But let's go ahead and jump into the lesson. If you joined us here before, we do tell our friends who are watching replays to hit control right and skip forward. And so we're going to give them a nice little intro for if they skip forward. So we'll do that right now and then we'll hop in. And here we go. That's hilarious, Nick. I can't believe there was salami inside the drawer. All right,
Isn't that crazy?
Thanks, everybody.
That story I'll never tell again.
Man, it's crazy. So for all of you that jump forward, we're going to hop into the lesson and get started here in Adobe Illustrator. And I'm going to show you the first thing that you need to know about Adobe Illustrator, and that is doing math. We love math. So if you've ever been kind of trying to create something or had trouble, so let's say that we want to create a grid on this document, and we are in Advanced Illustrator, so we're going to skip over a bunch of stuff and just talk to you as if you know what you're doing. But let's kind of play. If we wanted to create 3 different rectangles, right, that fit this size, what I can do is I can grab my rectangle tool and I can click. And that's going to bring up this little box. Now, I know that my artboard is 1920 by 1080. So I want 3 of them. And the math on 1920 divided by 3 is 60 something, 600 something. But check this out. What I can do is I can simply go 1920 divided by 3. and then hit tab, and it's going to give me the answer. So I don't know if people know this, and I haven't seen people use this a lot before, but you can do math 100% very quickly in here. And then let's say we want to do 2. We can go 1080 divided by 2. And now we hit OK. And now we have a shape that will stack 3 across and 2 deep perfectly right there. So if you ever need to do math, that is the ultimate hack. You can just do it in the box. You don't have to worry about trying to measure things and drag them and whatever. Literally just toss them in and they'll be done and good to go.
That's so like, you look at that, you're like, it's kind of like that. It's so pleasing to see things just tiled perfectly. I remember when someone showed me years ago, like when I was first, I think it was probably the first time using Illustrator, someone showed me all the dialog boxes we can manually put. I remember dragging my first box going 3 inches by 3 inches. Let's get it perfect. And I was like, what was I doing? It's all there to add and input numbers.
Easy. All right. So Nick, let's hop over to your screen and we'll kind of just go back and forth. I think Nick, show us some knowledge. And for whoever is doing, for whoever's doing the chapter markers on this video, we've got a lot of stuff. We're sorry. So it's just going to be a lot of little bite-sized pieces today. And hopefully y'all learn something. And the homework, as we get into this, just to keep in mind, is to create something using one of these techniques. So you don't have to use all of them, but create something using the techniques and drop it in the Discord because we're teaching you a bunch of stuff today. So
or find a hidden one we didn't know about. That would even be better, right?
Yep. And when I say whoever, it's Wade. Wade Acuff is our moderator for Office Hours, and he does the chapter markers. Sorry, Wade.
I love how you're being nice.
That's it. Yeah. All right, Nick, what are we doing next? Give me an intro so we can cut it later and then hop in.
I want to give you the width tool advantage. And what I love about this thing is when you're trying to do anything with the pen tool where you're doing your own you're trying to build some shapes like this, right? Sometimes when I'm doing these, I'm like, they don't match up too well or they look cool, but like I want a little more control than actually making something like this, right? So what I'm going to show you here is a few things. With a thin line like that, just something simply drawn, I'm going to go over here to the width tool and you'll see it's this funky looking one, kind of looks like a French curve. When you hover over it, it tells you exactly what it's going to do. And I love that. So I'm going to click on this. What this is going to do is I can pick any point of this piece and drag and get this unique item. And what's neat is I can move this around to change the thickness or the thinness. And you see how it's giving you that preview as you do it. And I love this effect because to me, if you're trying to do something, you're going to do massive amounts of these and you want to make sure they're uniform or they're, at least a little bit more smooth with this stuff. The width tool is the way to do that. And they're always still editable. You can go right back in with this again. You could pick another spot and now you can kind of either like contour or do something neat like that. But here's a cool part that kind of takes it to the next level. When you're here, don't forget, I'm still in wireframes, just showing that same line. All I've done is I've applied an effect to it, but I haven't really expanded it or done anything. So I'm gonna take this, and basically what I'm gonna do is we're gonna expand that appearance. And now with my stroke here, I'm gonna give it the black here, and I'm gonna give it no fill. Because what you can actually do is you can go back in here, and now I can actually make a really incredibly different one with 2 versions of it on that same path. So if you're trying to create new and unique kind of shapes like this, the width tool will allow you to not only do it to one, but as you have something like this, imagine how you can use this in logo building, in illustrations, pattern making. To me, there's just so many options you can use this for. And again, it's just a fast way to make something that would have probably taken me 3 or 4 minutes each time, and now I'm doing it in just a few seconds.
That's really cool. I have not used it like that before. That's really, really cool.
Isn't that cool?
All right, so let's go ahead and hop into our next tip. So our next tip I want to show you is how to use blends. If you've never used blends in Illustrator, they're a super powerful tool for a bunch of different reasons. And what a blend does is it's basically going from one thing to another, right? So I'm gonna show you a couple different ways to use blends. My favorite way is to use it for color palettes. So check this out. If I wanted to find a monochrome color palette, I can simply grab 2 different shades of blue. Then I'm gonna go to Object, Blend, and then Blend Options. And I'm gonna change these blend options to specified steps. I'm gonna do like 5 steps and then hit OK. I'm gonna come down here and go to Object, Blend, Make, and then it's going to give me 5 steps between, right? So it's not just for blending shapes. You can also blend colors. And then I have this awesome color palette that I can select. I can go to Object and Expand. And then from there, I can just make a new folder right here and do blues.
Yeah.
And check it out. Now I have an awesome new color palette with a bunch of different blues on there, right? Super powerful and super easy. Now, let's say that I want to do a little bit of a different effect, right? I want to do a smooth transition of a blend. So I'm going to make a circle and then another circle over here, and just make this so that it is maybe a red and a purple. Sure. Nice. So from here, I can select these two, and we can create this really cool effect where we go to blend, blend options, and go to smooth color, and then hit OK. So when we hit blend, and I'm just going to use a hotkey from now on, it's Alt-Control-B. It's going to smoothly change that color, right? And so this looks pretty cool, and you can get some really awesome gradients. So what I love to use this for is lettering. So let's say that I want to create a letter. I'm going to use the brush tool right here, and I'm going to change my brush tool settings by hitting enter and going smooth all the way up because I'm not good at drawing with a mouse. So I'm going to go ahead and create kind of this like loopy L, right? That's kind of fun.
Beautiful.
That's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. So what I can do is, as we look at this, right, we can go into outline modes, and you see that it's just an outline, right? It's just a path. And instead of being a path, we're going to convert this to a spine. So what we need to do is on this blend, you can see this line in the middle. That is the spine. It's saying, hey, go from this shape to this shape on this spine. And we can actually replace that spine by selecting both of them, going to Object, Blend, and then Replace Spine. Check that out. So what it's done is it's replaced the spine, so now it's having that smooth color between those two shapes. So that's looking pretty cool. And if I wanted to change it so that it was going the opposite way with that gradient, we can select with the direct selection tool and then right click and go to arrange and send to back, and it will change the front to back of this. So this is really, really cool and a really easy way to create some awesome text effects. I love doing this with pixels. So right, if I wanted to kind of create a pixel effect, I could come in here and grab these, make them a color. Yellow's not going to be the color that I use because it's ugly. So let's use purple, and then let's use this kind of like pinky color. Is I'm going to make my blend. I'm just going to use the hotkeys again. Oops. Oops. Oh, my fingers don't work. There we go. Make my blend, select them, and then replace that spine. And now you see I got this really cool kind of pixelated look. And if I wanted to, I could come in and change the settings, go to blend options, change this to specified steps, and then take this down, and it's going to get more and more pixelated as I go.
I actually like the animation of that. That's pretty killer.
Right? Render, enhance. So you can really play around with the different steps, and it will follow through. If you change the orientation, it's going to also follow the tilt of the line that you're creating. And so this is great if you're trying to create a blended rainbow or something that's on a curve. You can change it so that the orientation follows the curve. I don't want that because I want this like pixel effect. And so we'll take this down to 20. That's not enough. And there we go. We've created this really cool pixel. And again, we can use that direct selection tool to just send to back, and it will change the front to back. Really cool effect.
You know what's so neat about that? How many years people wanted to know how to do gradients on paths. And I know there's a few ways to do it now, but I like this way because it actually controls based on like you built the perfect blend you want, and then you applied it exactly to the art that was needing it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep. And I'm going to show you all how to do something a little bit different. Nick has something that he wants to show, and then I'm going to come back and tie this into another lesson. So Nick, go ahead and teach us our next thing.
All right, so the next one is the distribute objects, and this is in your align panel. And these were buttons, again, that have always been down here, and I've never explored or kind of even knew what these were for in a lot of ways. But I've used all the typical align ones, and you guys have all probably seen this before. So if you got just a few different things like this, and they're going to make them a different color so you can see them, and you take all three, right? You can align them and get those perfectly. But one thing I didn't realize with objects is what you could do is really kind of work on points. So when you have something like this, or let's say something's been awkwardly moved or shift and you want dead center, you can literally click on this here, and down here you can click on, I believe it's, whoops, did I do the wrong one?
Not that.
Oh, there we go. That, let's say this got a little bit off center here. I think it was this one here. Oh, I totally messed up.
It is aligning to your artboard right now. You need to change the bottom right to align to the object.
This one here. That one.
Yep.
There it is. Okay, gotcha. So now we click on these two and now go here. Oh, it's not working. What happened?
Try aligning to key object.
Let's
bottom
see.
right.
Distribute. Oh, this one.
Nope,
here.
bottom right, one down.
Let's see. Bottom right. This one?
Yep.
Oh, to key object.
Yep, now try.
There it is. Okay, so now go to distribute, and we're going to go to here. No, that did not work. Oh my gosh, what happened? I thought for sure I practiced this all day, guys.
Sure you did. All right, come back to that one.
Go back to yours.
Yes.
I'm going to figure this
one
out.
Okay, I'll go back to mine. Cool. All right. Just like nothing ever happened. Hey, everybody, welcome back to my screen. Okay, so here's what I want to show you, and that is how to create a gradient on a path. And we've created this cool like looping L, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways. So an effect that I love to use if you're trying to create a perfect kind of like ride or wave, all you need to do is use the ZigZag tool. So I'm going to create a line right here. And on this line, I'm going to go to Effect, and then I'm actually going to make this stroke a little bit thicker. So I'm going to go to Effect. I'm going to go to Stylize. Sorry, I'm going to go to Distort and Transform, and then go to ZigZag. And this is what I use to create any kind of wave or any kind of like arc. So I'm going to change it to Smooth, and then take the size up. And you can see there we're getting perfect little wobbles. And what it's doing is it's going 50 pixels up and 50 pixels down. And then rides per segment is how many kind of ups and downs it has per time, right? So it has 1, 2, 3, 4. And as we take this down, you can see it does less and less. So if you need to create kind of just a smooth path that you know is going to be perfect, boom, set it to 0. If you want one wave, you can set it to 2. This is just the easiest way to do it. You don't have to do the pen tool. You don't have to worry about any like specific Bezier points. Literally just use this. And if you want to create kind of an effect of like a chevron pattern, boom, right there. Just set it high. Hit OK, and then maybe we want this thicker, and boom, we've got some really cool chevrons that are using that zigzag back and forth. So that's the easy way to create that zigzag. But if I want to create a gradient that's on a path, all I need to do is use that zigzag, go to Effect, Effect, Distort, Transform, go to Zigzag, and then let's do Smooth and do kind of a fun little wave like that. I'll hit OK. And then from here right now, if we go into our preview, it is a straight line. But if I go to Object and Expand Appearance, now it exports that path, right? And we just learned that paths don't have to stay paths. They can become spines. And so what we can do is we can select these two right here. And then we're going to go to Object, Blend, and we are going to replace spine. Boom. Check that out. And so now we have our shape, our crazy little like wobbly woobly, but it has created it on this gradient, right? On this perfect path. And if we change the path, it is going to augment that gradient as well. So we can kind of play around with however we want this to look, and it will continue to augment that gradient of different shapes. If I wanted to, I could scale this up, and you can see that it's actually going to, let's do that. Scale this up, it's going to create like a little bit more of that like kind of wobble effect. This is like, I think Apple did a campaign that was similar to this kind of look.
Oh, yeah. And it looked like they were almost in 3D, like going back in depth.
Yep.
Same way you're drawing it right now.
Absolutely. So you can see, I'm just changing it front to back, as you can see kind of the magic that it's doing there, moving it from the front to the back. But look at that. So you can see when it overlaps, actually, this is my favorite, is when it starts to overlap on these edges a little bit. You get really cool effects in here and really subtle gradients that you wouldn't really get in Illustrator any other place. So you can get some really cool overlapping effects by using the blend instead of using a freeform gradient or something. Kind of creates that 3D illusion very quickly and very easily. Magic. That's and yes, great. This is all vector. Someone in chat said this is all vector. Yes, this is all vector. If we expanded this, it's going to be a lot of shapes. But if we expand it, there we go. You can see all of those vector shapes in there. That looks pretty cool too.
Isn't it neat how much Illustrator is pushing the boundaries of like what's vector and what looks raster?
Yep.
That's pretty incredible.
Absolutely. So if I zoom in here, in theory, you'd be able to see something, but you can't. It's all just vector. Magic. Wait, hold on. Wait.
Great.
Magic. All right, Nick, are you ready? Have you pulled your life together for you to teach us something?
I'm going to show you like one fun little tip, and then I'm going to give you a little Pathfinder tip as well. Did you know about the back quote key?
No, Nick, tell me about the back quote key.
I did not know about this. So this was the little back quote is this one right under the tilde, I believe is the name of the thing on the top, correct?
Yes.
That I knew you'd know that one. Like that's an Andrew thing for sure. Now, when you've got multiple windows open, you can see here at the top, I've got a bunch of different files open within the same Illustrator board here, basically. And what you could do is by just hitting Command and that back quote button, I can actually toggle between everything that I have that is open. And what's neat about this is I love the idea of it making one less thing that I am going and trying to find and clicking on and then going back to the original one that I was on, particularly if you're cutting and pasting and copying different things from different actual files. I found that to be a great little shortcut that I had no idea was technically in Illustrator, which I thought was really, really fun.
It's nice. Can you do something for me, which I don't know if it's a thing? Can you hit Control like 1 or Control 2? Because I feel like that will also jump through.
I
lied to all the world. It's not a hotkey. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is Nick's time.
All right. Pathfinder hitting a little hidden setting here. I'm sure a lot of you have done this where you're using Pathfinder in ways to kind of like make a shape or do something fun with a logo design. And what I have here, I'm just going to go to the wireframe so you can see, is I have kind of a compound path of a little trapezoid there, and I have this like here as well, a polygon. So with this over here, I want to make some cool designs or something here. When I'm doing this and I go into my Pathfinder tool, I'm going to go into the divide. And I'm sure you all know what that does is once I ungroup it, it's given me all these different things here that I can actually start making some cool shapes from. And to me, this is some ways a really cool exploratory way to find a logo to design. But one thing that's kind of always hidden in here is if I move this one, you're going to see there's actually this white piece that always shows up, and it's there. You can see in the wireframe that it's there. And a lot of times it's just an extra step to kind of get there, and you kind of go, wow, like I'm just having to delete that. Or a lot of times I'll forget about it and I'll go back to recolor it. And I find in a more complicated intersect or divide here, I might have 10 to 20 of those little white gaps in there as well. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to go back here and we are going to get this so it's right back to where it was. I'm going to do this, but instead of hitting the divide one here, I'm going to go into here and go into the Pathfinder options, and you'll see there's this divide and outline will remove unpainted artwork. You click on that, hit that. Now it's divided everything here. We're going to go back here, divide again, ungroup, and you'll see I have that same thing with these pieces, but there's no longer, oh, what happened?
Nick, it's still there. 2.
This is a great day for me, guys. So listen to me for all your tips when it comes to
I think that it's because it is filled with white, possibly.
Oh, because
is there a fill on there? Yeah, because if there's no fill, I think it will get rid of it.
Let's try. So you're saying it should be not a compound path.
Try it. See what happens. And while you do that, I did have a question that I'm going to address real quick. So Anthony is asking, can you use all the Pathfinder to merge all the spines in that shape, Andrew, to clean up that wireframe? So this wireframe does look crazy. And yes, if I wanted to create just a shape, I could use the Pathfinder tool over here to join them all together, and then it would create one shape. We will lose the gradient. That's the hard thing, is we can't do the gradients. It's different, right? We have gradients, we have freeform gradients, and the spine of a blend is a little bit of a different gradient. So it's technically not a gradient. It's hundreds of different colored shapes that are just very similar to each other. So we could expand it and create one shape if we needed to. It is not going to give us the same kind of look that we're looking for. All right, did we figure it out, Nick?
No, we did not. So I'm 0 for 2. How about off to you for the next one?
Sounds good, y'all. All right, let's go ahead. Here we go. Let's back to screen.
Yes, AI is giving me the blues today.
Here we go. Blend, spines, done. Math and boxes, done. We got some zigzag, done. Let's go ahead and show you how to make a button. Let's show you some of the appearance panel. Also, I really want like a little scoreboard down here that just says like Andrew 5, Nick 2.
Oh, wow.
I just need that in my heart, just for me. All right. let's
Good
go
to know
ahead and
you're
hop
keeping
over to my
score.
screen. Sorry, Nick. Let's go ahead and hop into my screen. I'm going to show you guys, if you've ever had to create a button, right? And we create, why am I using this hot red? It is so aggressive. Let's use this nice blue. So I need to create a button, and I'm going to say like hello. And then from there, we are going to scale this up. And I've realized that like, oh man, I need it to be wider. And so I have to come in here and select the shape. And I've turned my bounding boxes off. So let's go ahead and go to view, and then bounding boxes, show bounding box right there. I have to drag this out. We don't want to do that, right? There's no reason to do that. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to delete that background shape. And with our type selected here, I am going to make my type white. And then from there, I'm going to go to the appearance panel. And in the appearance panel, I'm going to add a new stroke. So you can add a new fill. So we're going to add a new fill in here. And now you can see we have the fill of the text is black. And I'm going to add one more fill. So let's go ahead and do that. Hi, fill. And this bottom fill is not going to be for the text. I'm going to change it to orange. And you won't be able to see it right now because it's sitting behind the text. But in theory, Illustrator is thinking of this as two separate things. The first fill is the text, right? And it is black. The orange is the fill of the text, and it is orange, right? But they are two separate objects, right? They're two copies of that text that are different fills sitting on top of each other. So if I select this back fill, all I need to do is come down to Effects and go to Convert to Shape, and then click on Rounded Rectangle and watch what happens. It is going to change that text into a rounded rectangle, and I'll hit OK. I can change the quarter radius, all of the extra width, all that stuff, and hit OK. And now, because this is one shape with text, where one of those text pieces is converted to a rectangle, if I zoom out here and I want to say, let's get started, it is going to resize that for me on that rounded rectangle, right? So pretty cool. If I wanted to come in, I could change the effect on that. So if we come on this fill right there, if we click on it, we can click on rounded rectangle. And then I do want to have some extra width. And so I'm just going to push that up. It gives me a little bit more on the sides there. And we'll hit OK. So we'll just say, welcome to office hours. And it is going to continue to shape all of that text, regardless of what changes I make to it, because there's technically a version of that text that's just being converted to a rounded rectangle, it is going to continually stay as a rectangle. So the fill here, I'll probably want to change to white. If I change the font, it's going to do that very easily and resize for me. So let's do the official, actually Stoltz is the one that we use. So official office hours right there. Let's go ahead and align it to the center. Everything that we do is going to keep it as that rounded rectangle. Now I want the edges to be a little more rounded. I just simply have to pull that in. And there we go. So now we've got a nice little button very quickly and very easily here in Adobe Illustrator using the appearance panel, which we're going to come back to in a second. But remember, every time you add a stroke or a fill to the appearance panel, it's like you're making a copy of the object that then you can augment and kind of change through. Also, Nick, there are 100 people in here. I don't know where y'all came from because we started out with like 14.
Welcome, everybody.
Hi. Welcome to Office Hours. We're a dumpster fire of fun and joy.
Hey, please say hi and give me a little bit of love because I'm like 0 for 2.
Yeah, Nick's having some trouble this episode. But if you're just joining us for the first time, every Friday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time here on behance.net/Adobe Live, we are live helping you level up your creative careers. We're doing Advanced Illustrator today. So if you're just joining for the first time, never watched, it's going to be a little advanced, but we're going to give you some tips and tricks that hopefully will be helpful in your workflow. And if you are watching for the first time, say hi in chat. Put a hamburger emoji in chat because I'm hungry and I'm vegetarian right now. So
that sounds so good.
Nick and I, yeah. Or if you're watching on YouTube, come over to Behance and leave me a red heart to let me know you're coming from YouTube. Behance.net/Adobe Live and leave a red heart. All right, Nick.
So mine should just be the challenge.
Here we go.
At this point, will this work for me?
Take 4. Nick is going to teach you something in Illustrator. What do we got, Nick?
I found distribute spacing that I thought was kind of like really unique and fun. And if you've got randomness here like this, I'll get rid of some of these here. You can see here, but these are all randomly spaced blocks. And in one click, I can literally evenly space them. It worked. Look at that. Boom. I love it. So what it's done is if you look back here, these were, let's say they're all completely unevenly spaced. This will actually take it and give them there. Then you can go up to any of your normal align ones. You can line the bottom, and you've just in 2 clicks taken all of those things, and by distributing them and having them at random widths, you've got them now completely even. And I know there's a lot of times too where you've got some art that you've got to do and kind of show, you want to make sure that they're even and everything. That to me is a great little quick tip that I thought was really kind of fun. The next one I want to show you is this Blob Brush and Brush. I don't know if have you ever messed with this one?
I haven't. I hear people talk about the Blob Brush all the time, but I've never really used it. Nick, show us how to use it.
It's kind of neat. Now, here's the thing. When you're doing paint and you're doing this is what you can typically do for some of the stuff like you were doing with hand lettering or whatever. But one of the things I like to do is if I want to do some random shapes that are kind of, irregular and not actually like fully vectorized, you want them to look a little bit hand done and kind of organic, right? When you're doing them with the regular brush, what they're actually doing is they're really lines. And even notice this one here, the line's I didn't connect it 100%. And a lot of times you can see that's in all cases. It's not there. It's just a line. Okay. So
why have lines when you can have blobs?
Yeah, use blob. So click on this and you're going to go to the Blob Brush. And what this is going to do is I'm going to try to make those same shapes, right? So I'm just going to kind of I want a really cool shape like this here. Now, what it's doing is if I look at it, it's actually connected that piece, but it's also made it really strong like that. And now if I want, I can actually even go in here and let's say we can just kind of it kind of is paint plus Pathfinder as you paint.
Yeah, it's basically painting in shapes instead of paths, which is really interesting.
Exactly. Isn't that great? Now, when you're in preview mode or like this, it is showing up as a stroke, which is kind of interesting. You'll see here, it's not actually a fill, but when you do look at it and you want to see what you've made, it's basically a compound path thing. So if you're painting with this, the thing I love about it is it actually does kind of save you a few things, because I like making those kind of unique, kind of ornate shapes for different designs. Or let's say you've got a brand that everything wants to look very handmade and done. I'm doing it, and I'm doing it really quick when it comes to this. And now I've got those ready to go. They are completely editable once you're there. So you can actually take these and you can kind of go into Pathfinder and mess around with these a little bit more. But to me, it's just a quick way of kind of drawing, but it's as you're doing it, it's pathfinding and putting everything together united. So you have these real frames and they're a blast to use.
Yep. And what's cool with that is you can actually change the settings here. So if you grab the Blob Brush tool and you hit enter, you can change the smoothing all the way up. I usually put it all the way up. And then you also can change the sizing. You can change the roundness, all that stuff. And when we click through here, let's just make an 8. If we select this, you'll see that we do have all of those paths, right? So I made it so that it was a fill instead of a path, and it's really created that. So this is great for doing hand lettering kind of stuff. Super easy to work in Illustrator. So
very cool.
I want to show you a special effect that I learned, and this is just an efficiency hot tip, is if you are trying to select something, okay? So there's something at the very bottom of this pile of shapes. And I could come in here and I'd have to
say something else.
Move. I'd have to move all these pieces to find what I was using, right? So check this out. All I need to do is I hold Control and click, and you see that arrow now has a little extra caret in there. If I click, it will click down through all of these different shapes to the back shape, which I have right here, and that's what I want. And from there, I can bring that to the front. We did it. That was
cute.
It's
X-ray.
But yeah, it's X-ray. So you can basically click through if you need to grab another shape. Just hold Control, and as you keep clicking, it will continue to click through those objects that are stacked on top of each other. So you don't have to move anything. You don't have to look through layers. Just hold Control, and it will click down through all of those different pieces, right? Which is really cool. And Julia is joining us from Germany. Hello, guten Tag.
Julia, welcome.
Nice to see you here. Thanks for joining us here on Adobe Office Hours from Germany. We're truly a worldwide show. I know we have a lot of friends in India. We have friends in Australia, New Zealand, all over the world. So Oman, we did some work for someone in Oman. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us here on Adobe Office Hours every Friday. That's where we are.
Excellent.
And Nick, do you want to show us another thing? Do you want to just keep going? Let's do it.
Let's go for it. All right. Say you've been given a very complicated, colorful illustration, but The brief says, guess what? We only have 2 colors, 3 colors to actually produce this and maybe print it on a t-shirt or something like that. And instead of going into an image like this here, and you can see this is quite a detailed, nice little illustration right from Adobe Creative Stock free. And all you have to do here is click on it. I have it grouped, and we're going to go into edit and edit color, and recolor artwork. You're going to get a kind of like abbreviated version here, but what I like to do is hit the advanced one right off the bat. And another thing I never really looked at was this area here where colors. And right now it's on auto because it's getting a source from this file. But if I click on this and I go, you know what? I only have 3 colors, and that's our budget. So I'm going to click on the 3, and notice what it's done is it's found the 3 perfect colors to apply to this, and you still get all the detail and separation. And I'm assuming what it's doing is it's looking at kind of darks and lights and kind of figuring out what might be the best solution here, which is really, really cool. And again, we can go into here now, and we can go into this, and we can even edit this a little bit more, and we're still in our 3 color range. But notice now I can kind of change this up. And what if the client or the boss says, hey, this is a springtime one, and we want to have those colors a little bit more pale or a little bit more spring. You can still edit that. And again, you're doing this all kind of universally. And I think that's one of the coolest things about recolor artwork. I remember seeing it, I think it was the first time at Max about 3 years ago. And I was going, my God, this thing is so robust, and it keeps getting more and more features. But I love the idea that it's not just going in and editing, but if you have to limit to a certain amount, you're covered. So love that idea here. And again, there we are. And we've got a full thing in just 3 colors, and it's made quite a difference. And now we can use it on our t-shirt.
That's awesome. I didn't know. I do a lot of recolor artwork stuff, and I haven't really done that, which is really cool. That's a super hack to be able to create something that's
great.
Very easy and very quick. And Nick, can you drop that into our shared library real quick?
Yes.
And then I'm going to show kind of how to do another hack with that. And while Nick does that, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to show you how to create some.
We're in live sessions, bro.
Live sessions?
Is that the one that you wanted, or which one?
Yeah, sure, works for me. So again, let's just go ahead and look real quick. Nick and I share a library with all of our faces. If this doesn't mean anything to you, you haven't been watching Office Hours long enough. But Nick's going to drop that.
That was a great day.
Yep, Nick's going to drop that right here. I have the artwork right there, and so I can drop that into my document very quickly and very easily. And I want to do something real quick, and that's maybe I want this to be in Office Hours colors, right? We use that red every now and then. So I'm going to grab just a red color that's very bright. Sure, let's grab one of these. Let's grab that red color. So let's say I want this to be in a monochrome palette. What I can do to change the colors very easily and very quickly, this is a super life hack, is we're going to make a copy. We are going to go to Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste in Place. And that's going to make a copy exactly on top of what this is. So I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool, and I'm going to click to unite to make all of this one shape. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to grab that shape and make it red. Now, it's not what we want, right? It's not quite where we want it to be right now. It's a little crazy. And if I come over here and change the blend mode to like multiply or even like color, it's going to kind of get it, but not exactly what I want it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this version on the bottom that has all of the colors, and I'm going to convert it to gray values, because when we use multiplier, overlay, or blending modes, it's really looking at the luminosity. And so converting this to grayscale will make it so that we have really pure colors. So let's go to Edit, Edit Colors, and then let's go to Convert to Grayscale. And from there you can see very quickly converted to grayscale. And when I align these back up and then multiply down this red, boom, you can see that I get this really nice monochrome color. And even if I change around to soft light, multiply, any of these blending modes now, because it's only working with gray tones, are going to be very pure and allow me to have an awesome kind of 2-color look with my illustration. So very quickly, I was able to take a really kind of different, contrasting, complementary color illustration and turn it into a 1-color by just converting to grayscale and then putting a copy on top and using a blending mode, right? Not the right way to do it, but we say here in Office Hours, there's no right or wrong way to design. There's only different ways. Different. And so this is a different way to do it. It's the way that I like to do it because I think it saves me a lot of time. So try that and see what happens. Also, there are so many people here. There's 120 people. There's
What's up,
a bunch of
everybody?
new faces. If you've never watched Office Hours before,
Please say hi.
raise your hand in chat, say hi, and let us know
Okay.
where you're coming from.
Yeah.
We never know where you come from. You just like show up in the middle of the show and we're like, who are these people? We're glad you're here, but let us know where you're coming from. And Nick, we've got about 15 minutes left, which is just enough time for 7 more things. Let's go ahead and learn something else in Adobe Illustrator. What do you got?
I got a few cool ones. So the first one I want to show you is a quick one. How many times have you gotten an object like this and it's been manipulated and you can see it's diagonal and it's off of the bounding box? And again, too, like sometimes I'll grab something like this and it might come from an illustration. Now I'm trying to move it, or I'm trying to move it to like this setting, but now I got this even more funky bounding box. The neat thing about this is it's definitely totally fixable. You're going to go to Object, Transform, and then Reset Bounding Box. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring it right back to its thing. And you're going to see the bounding box is right there. I think for me, a lot of times that awkward bounding box makes it a little bit funky when you're messing around with something in a file. So that's just a quick tip. That was one of those ones where I did a quick like search and I was like, why is this always like that? They have the fix for it. The next one I want to do is this is when you're seeing really cool magazine layouts and they've got like selective masking in an image. And instead of just taking this image of the car and masking it within a square or something cool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a cool, like little honeycomb thing. And I know a lot of you can make patterns quickly and everything, but I'm just going to do a quick thing where I'm doing an Option drag with the Shift key down. And when you've done one and you let go, you just hit Command D. And what you're going to do is you're going to get a duplicate,
another one.
Thank you, DJ Khaled.
That's it.
Of the same spacing and everything, right? So I'm going to take those, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take those, I'm going to like get them up here, and now again, I've made a second set, and if I want, now I can take that entire set and go all the way over like this, and again,
we also could use the pattern tool for this, but we'll show you that later.
So I love this too because now they're still independent, right? So I'm going to send this to back. Now what I want is like, I want to do something really cool. So I'm looking at where the car is and I'm just figuring out random ones that I'm picking. And let's go here. Maybe this one too. So
I'm
all
excited
I'm doing is
I think I know where you're going, and there's like 3 different ways that I know how to do this, and I don't think I know how to do the way that you're about to show, which I'm excited about.
Oh, so I've got a few highlighted, and by seeing that, you can see where I've got. I'm leaving a few of them kind of vacant. Maybe I even grab 1 or 2 that are in completely out of it. Now, before I make a mask with this thing, the one thing I have to do is I have to compound path these because it has to be considered one object to make the mask. So by doing Command 8, I have made that a compound path. It is over my image, so I'm just going to kind of select it with the Shift key down, this and that image. Where is it? Sorry. Let me grab it here. There's my image, and then we'll grab those guys, and then Command 7 will mask them. And what's cool is you can see I get like that selective mask, and I can even go in here. These can be really cool things where I can make call outs, or let's say it's a text spec thing for
different colors,
a particular area. Yeah, and again too, now I can go and say like, hey, we need this like kind of cool little color here, and we can just make a few of them like that. And again, we've created a little bit more of a dynamic kind of layout that would be really kind of fun and play. But this idea of having multiple spaces and shapes, compound packing them, they will make the mask just like a square will. But I love the idea of just getting a little bit more of a fun, dynamic kind of vibe when you're doing something. This could be any shape too. It could be the logo of the company. It could be anything you really want to work on. But I love doing that duplicate real fast, and I get a really quick mock-up to show a client or someone right off the bat.
Yep. And if Nick is going to create that, look at what I did. That was a smooth transition right there. So this actually transitions really well into the next thing that I want to show you, and that is transform each randomly, right? I said that we're going advanced here in Illustrator. We're going to transform, but instead of transforming, we will transform each. Instead of transforming each, we will transform each randomly. So check this out. If you have a bunch of shapes, this is great for creating maybe snowflakes or something that you need a little bit of variation. We can select all of these shapes, and if we wanted to transform, we could go to Edit, we could go, Object, Transform, and then we can go into something like Scale, and then we can change them. But as we scale these, it's going to move the whole thing together. We don't want that. We want them individual. So we can go to Object, Transform, and Transform Each. Watch what happens. Transform Each, amazing tool. And what we're going to do is Transform Each is going to allow us to transform, that's right, each of these. So as I scale this down, you see that it's not moving the entire thing. It's transforming each of them individually, right? So check this out. If I wanted to, I could come down here and I could click on random. And when I click on random, watch what happens when I turn the preview on and off. So what it's going to do is right now it's not doing anything because everything's set to 100%. But it's going to give us a random value between the numbers that we put in here. So the horizontal and vertical, the lowest that I want is going to be 70%. And the same thing here, we want those together. 70% is the smallest. Actually, let's go to 20. Let's make some really small ones. There we go. Move. If we want them to randomly move around, let's say that 50 pixels is the most we want them to move. That looks pretty good to me. And then we will hit OK. So if we hit OK, it's going to, again, it is transforming each of these randomly at a value between 120. And when I unclick unclick the preview, you can see the preview is changing each time it's randomizing it. Pretty cool, right? So cool. Right? So it's randomizing it perfectly.
Randomizing building, because I could never do it by eye, right?
Yes, it's magic. So you can completely randomize and create some really cool effects here like that. And now we've got this really cool kind of organic effect of like the honeycomb. And we've just done that very quickly using Transform Each. We didn't have to do a brush. We didn't have to do any custom scaling or whatever.
Yeah.
It all was just in Transform Each. This is super helpful to do if you're doing like stars or any kind of like snowflakes, anything that needs to look like it has some randomization to it. Click that random button, set the scale to like 10, and then you'll get different variations between there. Super easy and super easy.
I like those things too.
Did I say super easy twice? I was really confident about it too.
You might have. But you know what's neat about that? I think you create things that maybe you didn't see before.
Yes.
Like to me, I think you're creating something very original that, like, again, we all strive for that when we're designing something, is to have something that maybe it's not a pure copy of something, but it's kind of something new.
Yep, absolutely. All right. And it's super, super easy. Thank you. Super easy and super easy. Double easy. Man, we got 9 minutes left here, Nick. Take us home. Teach us one more thing, and then maybe I'll do one quick thing as well.
Perfect. So I found this out. Have you used tiling at all?
No.
Like artboard tiling?
I have not.
This is kind of interesting. So this is great when you're working on a logo and you want to see it in two views. You want to see it close up and you want to see it maybe like kind of at normal size. So as you're working on details, you're in the details of it, but you can see another version of it, which is kind of unique to do while you're making some of the final adjustments. So with a file open like this here, I have Untitled 4 open. You're going to go to Window, not to File, but to Window, and you're going to go to New Window. And what it's going to do is it's going to make a duplicate of that, but it's got a kind of like a, -2 here, right? So you're going to go into Window, and what you're going to do is you're going to go into Arrange and Tile. And what this is going to do is it's going to create two views of the same file. So when I go over here, and let's say I'm zooming in on this one, and I'm looking at something really close up here, right? And I want to say like, okay, maybe these two things here, I'm going to go into wireframe. We're going to grab this. Maybe they should go a little bit more here. Notice on my right, it's making all of these previews while I'm working here, and I can look at it and see like, does that look good with the whole structure? Does this need to come down a little bit here? Isn't that amazing? So you're getting a preview right there on the right, but I'm doing all the edits to this one on the left.
I had no idea that this was a thing. I have literally never seen this feature used ever before. Okay, so
I love it that I've stumped you, but isn't that the coolest thing?
How did you get here? One more time, can you go back into how you get into this view?
So I'm going to get rid of this one. We're going to go back here. Let's do this one more time because I'm still figuring it out, and I love it. One thing is open. This is Untitled 4. Go to Window and go to New Window. And what that's going to do is you're not going to see anything, but you can see you have a new tab for your next one, right? So I have two versions of the exact same file open. With this done, now you're going to go into Window again, and you're going to go into Arrange and into Tile. And that's going to put them side by side. And as I move this, we can move this way. I can go over here, do the same thing, get him centered. But when I click on this one again and I zoom in, I'm not zooming in here. But I can go in here now, ungroup, and I can be like, you know what, this is it the right size? Let's see. And notice it's making all the differences on the other side.
I'm not okay.
Well,
that's so cool. That's the coolest.
So
okay.
For logo building, this is like, I had no idea. This is so cool. And I'm assuming too, you can just slide and get more here if you need to. less here if you need to, whatever you need to do, totally editable.
Uh,
I just blew your mind.
of Office Hours, I think of any show that I've done in the last 4 or 5 years, that's the coolest thing I've learned. Like, that's insane. And that's so helpful to be able to see the 10,000 foot view when you're editing details, to be like, oh, the detail is too small.
Exactly.
That's mind blowing.
I love that idea.
I don't even want to teach another thing, but I do need to because we have 5 minutes left. And y'all,
do you got?
Here in Office Hours, we are absolutely shameless. And what I mean by that is, here are our socials. There's a lot of you watching right now. Go give a follow. Hang out with us. That's it. It's our show and we have fun, and we'd love for you to have more fun. So you can follow on social, you can follow on Behance, you can follow on Instagram, wherever you want.
Say hello for sure.
TikTok, I'm on TikTok now if you want to follow. But there's a ton of people, 142 of you in here, which is not normal. But welcome to Adobe Office Hours. All right, let me show you how to do one last thing here in Adobe Illustrator, and that is change your preferences. So let's go ahead, and people always get on me because in Illustrator, I work in dark mode. In Photoshop, I work in light mode. So the easy way to change your preferences is to go to Control K. So Control or Command K will bring up the preferences, and there is all kinds of different things in here. So the keyboard increment right now, it is moving. Why is it set at this? 1.0008 pixels. No idea why it's like that, so I'm going to change it to 1. And that just means as I hit the right arrow, it's going to move 1 pixel, right? So I can change this to 100 if I wanted to, if I was working on something that was very large. And as I select this, you can see it's moving now. Every time I hit the arrow, it's moving by 100 pixels instead of just 1. So if you're working on something you know you're going to be needing to move in big quantities, just change your preference for what those arrow keys do. So I'm going to change that back to 1. And from here, there are a bunch of options, a couple that I want to point out. The first one being scale corners, and the second one being scale strokes and effects. So I'm going to turn both of those off. And what we're going to do is we are going to make a stroke that has a rounded edge. So I'm going to make this very, very large. So as I create this very large rectangle, it is rounded. It has a stroke on it. As I scale it down, I'm going to use the scale tool, click and drag toward the center. You can see that it's just turning into the Oculus logo very quickly.
That's how he made it. Oh, okay.
And we get sued. So it as you scroll down, it will leave the size of that stroke as well as the roundness of those corners, right?
Yeah.
And so if I don't want that,
dimensions are the only thing that are changing.
Yep, it's just the math is staying the same. So if I don't want that, I can turn on scale corners and scale strokes and effects. And when I hit OK, it is going to scale this as a shape. So you can see there that the stroke is changing number and scale, doing the division, as well as the roundness of those corners. So very, very easy to change.
That's great.
And if you're having trouble, like that's probably the issue, is that those are turned off.
You know what's so good about that too is I like to work in that mode. So as I'm scaling something down, it's uniform. But when you never send a file with your strokes kind of applied like that, I always expand it because now someone can go in there and really mess with it afterwards.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's such a cool thing. Like always expand those, but what control you have in your preferences. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And here's one that I love. Turn on zoom with scroll. So if I scroll in now, I can zoom in and out. Super easy to add, no extra functionality. And then in here, we also can change a bunch of things. And you'll probably notice as you watch my streams, my anchor points are turned up so that I can see them a little bit more so that you all can see them as well.
Great idea.
So if I change the size to max, we also can change the handle style of what the style looks like on those handles. So when I hit OK, you can see that those handles are very large as opposed to... Nick, can you zoom in and select something real quick on your screen?
Yeah. Let's see.
So as far as Nick's handles... So go to command. Yeah, there we go. So see how small those anchor points are?
Yep.
I have mine set to be much larger just so I can see them and show them to you on screen.
That's so cool.
The last thing that I want to show you before we kind of close out the show, and that is the user interface. This is the one that people always get mad at me about, is user interface right here. We can change it to light mode. We can change it to a gray. It's so jarring to see it in different mode than I'm used to. I always keep it at the dark. But if you wanted
I like the medium gray. That's kind of cool too. Never knew that.
It's okay to be wrong. So
actually, that's where I'm at. I didn't even realize it. I have medium gray, and I never knew. I thought that was just dark.
It's true. So if you wanted to, this is something that I like. So if I'm working on Illustrator, I use my interface and change the canvas color to white. That means that everything is white because I very rarely work on the actual artboard. So if you wanted to, you could match the user interface brightness, and that's going to keep just your artboard white, and everything else goes to the same color tones as the rest of the program. So
you go white with it.
I go white with it because I like to work wherever I want. I never stay on artboards. And so I could toggle.
You could toggle while you're in the app. I think it's Command Shift H, correct?
Yes, I believe that is right. Yeah. So you can toggle on and off your artboards to see them, or you can just kind of work wherever using that interface. And on that interface, you also can auto collapse icon panels. Large tabs is something that I use. It just shows bigger. And then scroll buttons at two ends, same thing. So there, you can kind of play around with the way that you want Illustrator to look for you and make sure that it is right for you. All right, Nick, that's the end of our time here. There are 165 of you here watching.
Oh, we can't leave just yet. Let's
Thanks so much for joining. This was awesome. Nick, where can people watch if they want to continue to hang out with us and watch more Adobe Office Hours?
Oh gosh, that's on YouTube and Behance, right?
Yes,
Behance. Where are you going with this?
Behance.net/Adobe Live every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. Next week, we are talking about advanced Photoshop, and then we'll be talking about advanced InDesign. I love InDesign. So we'll be doing InDesign, and then we'll be helping you go back to school. So if you're a student or you're getting ready to be a student, we're going to help you go back to school with a 3-part series, getting you ready to learn and make the most of your year. Nick, give us some inspiration as we go out to the weekend. What do you got?
Ooh, gosh. Fire up all your cylinders, man. I know I'm trying to because school's coming up. Summer's over. I know that's not the most inspiring thing, but I'm excited to get back into school, and I can't wait to spend more time with us on Office Hours. That's where those are our roots, man.
Yes, we're excited to get back to school. We've enjoyed the summer with you all. We've enjoyed learning and doing this series of 101, 201, 301, but it's time to go back to school. So we'll see you all next week for Advanced Photoshop. Bye.
Thanks for joining.